Okay, we're back here. Just another quick one for kids taking the ACT tomorrow. This is not an SAT concept, but this is really geared for kids taking the ACT. So they give us a graph, y equals 3 times the sine of x. It wants to know what the period is. It wants to know what the amplitude is, so they give us the function. They also give us the graph. So let's just get right into it. Let's deal with the amplitude first. You know, amplitude, you figure, probably heard that term before, maybe with music. Amplitude is just going to be the distance up and down. The distance up and down. And they give you two opportunities to solve this. Number one, the amplitude is always this front number in a function. It's always that front number. So, yeah, easy enough. We just know the amplitude is 3. That's one way to figure that out. The second way would be to look at the graph, and to figure out the amplitude, what you do is you take the highest point on the axis, right, which is obviously positive 3. You subtract the lowest part, which is negative 3, and you divide by 2. So you could probably see here 3 minus negative 3 is what? Positive 6. If I divide by 2, that will be 3. One more thing to keep in mind with amplitude. It is always the absolute value of this. Amplitude is a distance, therefore it is always positive. You know, if this were a negative 3 sitting out front there, the absolute value is just the amplitude is just the absolute value of that number. So it's always going to be 3, regardless. So it should always be positive. So amplitude, remember, goes up, down. Period then goes left, right, and what that is, it's just the distance along the x-axis to make a full curve. So you could start, you could start here, and you go, and you keep going, and you keep going. And once you hit here again, you can see the curve just starts to repeat. It starts to repeat. If you don't see that, oftentimes an easier way to do it is just to look at the top, and then the next peak there, and just try to figure out what that distance is. You could do that as well. So there's two ways to do it. You could always look at the graph. If we start from 0 here, we see we go, we stop, and we hit 2 pi, and then we repeat it again, so the period is 2 pi. For those of you guys in pre-calculus, you might know this. The period of a sine curve or a cosine curve is what? 2 pi divided by b. And b is always that number in front of the x there. So you can see that's a 1. So obviously 2 pi divided by 1 is 2 pi. And then sometimes they do ask this, so you might want to keep your eye on this. They might ask you for the period of a tangent curve. Well, sine and cosine are 2 pi over b. Tangent is just pi over b. So it's got a little bit shorter period. Good things to keep in mind. They like to ask this, but that should do it.